Hi, everyone. Today we have Toni Mc Lelland. She is the business mentor for boards in social causes. She's a LinkedIn top voice organizational development, leadership and mentoring coach. She's also a change and crisis specialist and queen of compassion and critical friend to all the business leaders. So welcome to this podcast, Toni. I'm very excited to have you today. And how are you doing?
I'm good, thank you, and thank you for having me. And there were a lot of ands in that intro, wasn't there? So lots of ands, and hopefully we can elaborate on a few of those here. Thank you.
Yeah, I was looking at your LinkedIn profile. I didn't want to miss out on any any of the things you have done. So yeah, because and that is how this thing has planned. Like I have really, I have gone through your expertise and what things would be really beneficial for the audience. So so that's the main aim. Okay.
Well, it doesn't sound as if you missed anything out. So let's see what we can fit in this short time.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. So there are a few questions planned, and I'm really excited about those questions because I really want that. I was looking for someone who is in this area. And we finally found you. And I always say this is not a coincidence. This is on purpose. So I'm really glad that finally we have someone who would be going to answer these questions. My first question is, Toni, you provide services for vulnerable groups like disability, specialist education, social care, and criminal justice. We would like to know about your journey. What inspired you to become involved in social entrepreneurship? So, if you can please share your own journey, how this journey started for you.
Okay, well, I started off in criminal justice, and I was really interested in behaviour. I was always interested in social studies and things like that from school. So human behaviour, the social sciences. And I was really intrigued by why young people go into the criminal justice system, not what they do at their peak, but why they enter. And that led me to understanding behaviour, and you change behaviour by understanding learning. Yeah. So I then went into education of the principle of special educational needs, provisions, etc., and done some work around PRUs, EBDs. I'm not sure if your listeners will understand those terms, but it's basically those with challenging behaviour or special educational needs, and the fact that everybody's different. And this thrust me into a real world of diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, because everybody has a different journey to get to the same place. I then wanted to understand how, having an environment, the environment that you're in has a real impact on your learning. So I went into social care, and I was overseeing registered managers and the staff there. So for me, that kind of led me to developing a model. So I don't talk about my 30 years experience as a career. I talk about it as 30 years of research, really, to get me to where I am, to understand the industry. I've always been in the industry, and I've always worked with organizations that have supported those particular groups. And there was a common thread throughout. And when I stopped and I went into the private sector, my own journey had an influence on that, and my involvement in compassion.
Yeah, great to hear about your journey, Toni. I really love the fact that how curiosity can lead to the invention of creating something great, and which is so beneficial for so many out there. So really an interesting story here. There was a time actually I was working with NGOs. When my babies, they were in primary, so I was actually supporting vulnerable groups, family in UK under 5 years of age, and then also supporting organization in their IT, because my background is engineering, and then I did the transition from corporate to being in this business world, and still connecting with my mission. Like there is a mission, so business is like it's not the term, it's main the there is a mission to really help people to embrace in their truest selves, to unleash their potential. So my next question here, Toni, is like you support social entrepreneurs, and
Absolutely. Yeah.
there are people I have seen, families in vulnerable state. Now, you support social entrepreneurs. So, what are the common challenges these entrepreneurs face as compared to the traditional entrepreneurs? And how do you help them navigate their journey?
Okay, well, I think first of all, let me just shed some light on what a social entrepreneur is, because there are people that are social entrepreneurs, but they don't recognize that they are one. A social entrepreneur is somebody who is, leading with a business, but a real public interest cause, a social cause. So it could be anything around social impact, social justice, or social mobility, something that is helping disadvantaged groups or vulnerable groups, disability, special educational needs, those types of things, criminal justice, those types of areas. So if it is a good cause, it's likely that you are a social entrepreneur. Some of the challenges that I see with some of the clients that I particularly work with, and that is, some that are coming out of public sector, they're doing their work and they're not used to asking for being paid. So, this is something, it's like you're still doing the same work and all of a sudden you don't get a paycheck at the end of the month. Some of the other things are about how to set up the company. They want to lead with this social cause. And so should they be a charity, a community interest company, a CIC? Should they be a limited company? Just the status. And really some of it, before you even enter into setting up the company, you've really got to think about, how are you going to be generating income? How are you going to be generating that revenue? Who is going to be paying for your service? And when you can answer that question, then really that leads you in the right direction, because we know charity and CIC, there's some that you have to put a percentage back, the profits are very limited, and there's lots of people that are just about making a reasonable living from it. So it's not an area that you're going to get rich. Think about if you're going to be spending your time writing bids and tenders, and you have to have a lot to invest if that's what you're going to be doing. You can't be relying to pay your mortgage on it initially in the beginning until you secure those contracts. So really just thinking about the status of the company. But even before that, you've got to really think about how much revenue do you need to be making to make this worthy? How much do you need to generate in terms of costs, overheads, your salary? And that's the starting point. And then let it determine from there. So, that's just asking for money, the status of the company, also people recognizing that there is a difference between being good at a skill, being a really good people leader, and being good at business. They are three completely different things. And quite often I see people that have got a really good skill, but they're no good at business. I see people that are really good at leading people, but if you have no business acumen, you are going to be leading them up the garden path. So this is the truth of the matter, that you need a combination of the three. And if you're good at a skill, it doesn't mean that you can't be good at business. It just means that you need to delegate and get a really good team around you and build your network. So that's just a couple of areas that I've seen.
No, 100%. Everything you were saying, Toni, it actually completely resonated. I know what you are saying. There was a time I struggled with that too. I would do workshops, webinars, helping organizations. I want, that's part of me. It's like a giver. It doesn't want to ask for money, because you think subconsciously you're helping someone, coming out of their pain, and you don't want to charge for that. I struggled with that. So that's why it was, when I started my journey, it was not a business. It's just, I was trying to overcome my issues, and I was helping others with overcoming their issues with the same procedure mindset I followed. I have also seen people, and especially social entrepreneurs, they have uh, issues with their mindset when it comes to money mindset. It's not just a strategy, it's not just implementation. So is that something which you help social entrepreneurs with?
Absolutely, I do, because, and I've got the experience, I've got the lived experience. I was in that space myself. I didn't know where to start asking for money. So I got a card machine and I used to keep it in my handbag and just pull it out and say, how would you like to pay? And I practiced that. My husband, he was in private sector. So ultimately, he was encouraging of me because he saw the value. But yes, people come to me, they don't know how to ask for money. And I think some of it starts off with your worth. Yeah. And really understanding your purpose and how your purpose sits in with the bigger picture. So really things that you need to be looking at are things like sustainable development goals. If your value proposition is really good and positions you well within the market, you don't have to sell your product.
Right. Yeah.
Your product sells itself. People will come to you. Yeah. And one of the things I say to people about the money aspect is don't chase the money, chase the results, and then the money chases you. And every so often you have to slow down enough for it to catch you. Because when you, especially in this area, what happens is you see the money and you don't take your eye off it. And yes, keep an eye on it. But if you are solely focused on the money, you are going to compromise the work that you're doing, and jeopardize the quality of what you're doing. Think about, what can I give this client? How will they come back for more? And that is what you do. You really make sure that you produce outstanding results every single time, and clients will keep coming back. So you won't need to sell anymore. You just So there's a few things there.
Yeah, 100%. Like selling is not a selling mindset. It's more about giving value, and money is just a byproduct. Like money would.
If you're clear about your purpose, your mission, your vision, and your own values and principles. Someone said to me recently, "Oh, you're really good at selling yourself and your business and what you're doing." And I said to them, "Well, actually, I'm not really selling my services. I'm selling me."
Right. Yeah.
Do you see what I mean? I'm selling me because I know what I stand for and I know what I don't stand for, and I'm very clear on my purpose.
Yes, absolutely. I can feel that. Like, and once you are purpose driven and that focused, everything is just, it's like, everything just follow through. If you're just connected with your purpose and your value.
And I think one of the other pieces that surround the purpose as well, I talk a lot about the Ikigai and the purpose Venn diagram. And, there's 4 key areas around that, which is about your vision, your mission, your vocation, and your passion. And those 4 areas are around, what is it that you love? What is it that the world needs? What are you good at? And what can you be paid for? Yeah. And quite often I talk to people about the fact that I love singing. If I can get a conversation in and talk about singing, am I good at it? Absolutely not. But my husband loves my singing. He encourages me a lot. I enjoy it.
Yeah.
I love it, but I'm not good at it. Can I be paid for it? No. Does the world need it? No. So really, I think sometimes we get caught up in something that we really love, but we don't realize that the world doesn't love it too.
Yes.
And the thing about it is, we've got to be really, really good at what we do if we're asking people for money for it. If I'm singing to you for free, that's fine. But if I'm asking you to pay for my singing, I need to make sure that I'm really, really good.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, what you said about, like, you gave a bit of your personal story, like you like singing, even though it's not, whether it's good or not, like your husband appreciated. And I would like to take a moment to really appreciate husbands. Those
going to ask me to sing for a moment.
No, maybe that will happen. Maybe
No.
at the end of you can just, I read about your Tony's fairy dust, and I thought I will keep that for the last. So probably you can sing, something. But yeah, this moment, I would really like to acknowledge all the husbands, those who are behind the wings of, women entrepreneur, because this journey is definitely very hard. And if you have someone, your partner, who's like, who just love you the way you are and really encourages you in the right direction, then, I think we must openly also, like you appreciated, we must openly appreciate, husbands. We always say that behind a successful man, there is a woman.
Because our husbands like our singing or whatever it is that we love doing, it doesn't mean that everybody else will. So that's the piece to remember.
I think that's what love stands for. Love, and that caring, making you feel special. That you are special in my eyes. Doesn't matter whether the world is liking that singing or not, but you are special for me. So yeah. So this is like, behind. I think every successful man, they say there is a, like, saying there's a woman, but also behind women there is men as well. And I can say it from my personal story as well.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. So Toni, my next question is, and we have discussed quite a bit, and I noted down this question because I know this challenge exists with social entrepreneurs with balancing their social and financial impact. So when it comes to balancing their profit and positive change they're driving in this world, how would you help them or suggest them to strike the right balance? Like, there are a lot of givers, and especially social entrepreneurs, they're like, they just want to a lot of them I've seen, they put their self-care, self-compassion at a least priority. They are the givers. They want to help people. A lot of them are empath. They feel others' challenges, emotions, but then they don't really prioritize themselves that much. And how would they strike a balance? If you can just give some, mindset, how would you help?
Well, I think they've got to create their own boundaries, really. They've got to create their own boundaries and look at what do I need to do to protect myself? I recently, put a poster, a piece of content out that was about the boundaries that I have, and the rules of engagement. And they are that, people need to pay on time, be on time, and be committed. And if they have all of those three, I can take care of everything else. But 1 out of 3 doesn't work, because it doesn't matter how much, somebody pays you. If they're not going to be on time or be committed to the process, I know that I'm going to be bored. So the first thing is really to show compassion for yourself, conserve your energy, because that's first, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you've got to create your boundaries. You've got to exercise some discipline. And unless you do that, that these are the things that I will do, and these are the things clearly that I won't. So you've got to be really clear about yourself. Otherwise, you will get pulled in lots of different directions. There are times where people have approached me, especially early in my setup, and my heart was pulling me in that direction, but my head was saying, this is not a good decision. Yeah. So you've got to work with your heart and your head simultaneously, and compassionate people want to kind of listen to their heart an awful lot. So, but it goes back to what I said earlier on, and that is about understanding what you need financially, because when people are starting out in business, if they don't get the figures right in the beginning, 6 months down the line, they say, oh, I tried it, it didn't work. But it's not that it didn't work. It's not that it wasn't a great strategy. It's just that you didn't put the right, piece in place. You didn't really think about the financials and how you were going to go about that. You didn't package or price accordingly. and you didn't have the right belief or support, and I think support is really important as well, having good mentors or business coaches around you that can encourage you, that really, really understand the sector, is really, really good. But value proposition, in terms of the money, you need to think about, how am I going to position myself that is differently to somebody else? Why would somebody want to work with me? And the fact is that if your value proposition is really good, then money will not be the deciding factor when you're speaking to somebody. So be very clear, stay focused on giving a really good result. And be very clear with your boundaries, and don't be afraid to say no.
That's a big one, actually. People struggle with.
Absolutely. So, you've got to really, because you have a strategy as well, it doesn't mean you've got to be agile. You've got to keep reviewing it. We've just gone through the pandemic. And so ultimately people have had to rethink the way that they do business and make some cuts. But ultimately, if you think about things like sustainable development goals, how you're leading with some of those, the governance of your organization or your business, these are things that can really help you to secure funding. The other things that can really help you are things like not being so focused on just output, but really, really thinking about outcome and lasting impact. Because we can all count up to 80, but it's about what is that lasting impact? Because unless you start moving in those directions and thinking about that, you're not going to be able to secure funding easily or successfully. And in this space as well, of social impact, justice, mobility, these kinds of areas, you've got to have a contingency plan. You've got to have a business continuity. You've got to have an exit strategy before you even start. You've got to understand the compliance and the regulation. So it's very heavily regulated. And so just be mindful and get somebody on board that can help and advise, support, or mentor you.
That's very, very powerful advice, actually. And since we, like you just mentioned about regulatory issues, compliance, that's really my next question. Like, your work involves navigating complex areas like safeguarding, contingency planning, and regulatory issues and compliance. How do you help businesses effectively manage these aspects?
Okay, well, the thing about it is that I look at an organization, for example, as an individual with a personality, so for me, it's about the culture is the personality of that organization. It's about change, and quite similar to how, as an individual, we go through change in the different stages. It's the same thing with an organization, that you've got to really think about all of it, the communication, but it all comes back down to people. You invest in people and you're more likely to get the results that you need, So that's kind of like one of the things that you really do need to be thinking about. Quite often when organizations come to me and they say to me, well, Toni, can you help me with this situation? We've got this big, they send me their 100-page plans and strategies and everything. And I say, I'm not going to find the answer in these documents. I'm going to find the answer when I come into your organization. I go into the staff room and have a cup of coffee, or I sit in the back of a team meeting, or I speak to a couple of people. I want to see who the real movers and shakers are, because quite often it's not the people that are paying my invoice,
100%.
It's so there's lots of things, but it's led by people, and you have to be emotionally connected and intelligent with people. So this is where, diverse, because I do a lot of change management. And if you understand my background from criminal justice to specialist education, there's lots of incidents, lots of crisis, those kinds of critical incidents that are taking place involving people. And so that's where some of that has come from. And because of that, what you need to do is, and that's where the compassion has come in, because compassion has always helped to get the result, regardless whether it's a workplace, dealing with people in the offending cycle, or you know, in the
Yeah.
community.
100%, whether it's personal, professional, emotions plays a big role. So definitely, and it's all people behind the business, behind the organization. Everything is like people are the one creating everything. So it definitely this, I totally agree with the compassion aspect you mentioned as well. So Toni, like you mentioned about this driving this change and helping others with managing their change transitions, that's a big part of your work. So you have a unique approach which is called leadership model of change, and there are some could you please walk us through what is this all about? What are the pillars, like if you would like to share something about it, like what is this leadership model of change, if you can please give an overview for it, please.
Well, if you heard me speaking about my background, it features the different components: behavior, learning, and environment. But there are two actual other pieces. My leadership change model is called the blend model, BLEND. And what I do is I use that model, which I've developed over the time, through experience and observation. And it's about how DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging works. So when we're working with a leader, for example, what we actually do is we look at that leader and we assess the behavior, innate, taught, learned, habitual. What type of behavior is it? Is it something that's embedded from when they were young? We look at the learning. Is it kinesthetic, audio, visual learning? We look at the environment, which is the E. What type of environment is it that they thrive in the best? And when you think about things like hybrid, working now, or home working, remote working. N is for network. Who are the people that are in your network? Is there a good balance of people that can help you, people that you can help, and people that are cheerleaders or that you can collaborate with? You need a mixture of the three groups. And my husband always says that if you hang around the barbers long enough, you will end up getting your hair cut. Okay. And there's no doubt about it. And I wanted to come back to him and say, well, actually, it's not true. But everywhere you come at it, you will. Even if you've got no hair, you will end up having a shave or something. Right? So, and then D is for your own development, which is about your own self-awareness. Where are you at in your own journey? Because you have to recognize your own journey, your own growth. Have you got an open mindset or a closed mindset? And also about that validation, because quite often there's a quote that I use, and that is about quite often we look for external validation when it's internal validation that is actually required. And so from that perspective, that's the BLEND model.
Yeah.
I'm able to assess people based on that, because when I go in, I need very quick results, and I need to empower people with the work that I'm doing. It's about empowering and inspiring so that I can move back and step back very easily. And I apply that approach with compassion. And that creates a sustainable change within the person and within the organization. What we do is we steer focused on sustainable development goals, environmental, social, and governance, DEIB, diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, as well as CSR, which is corporate social responsibility.
Yeah, great. I mean,
like my little speech there.
100%. Each and every word you're saying, I can fully resonate to that. I can link it to, a lot of my work as well. Like you mentioned about people look for external validation, and that's 100% true. The moment you turn inwards, you have got a lot of answers. You can shift your reality, and that is a major part of that, shifting your reality, which I work. You become whom you hang out most with. You become an average of top 5 people you hang out most with, and that's 100% true. Human catch behaviors, they catch the thoughts. Toni, you mentioned about incorporating diversity, equity, inclusion into your work with businesses. why it is so crucial for modern organization and how can they implement it? If you can please share some insights.
Well, I think that people need to really have an understanding that everybody's different. So,
Yeah.
I was recently working with a corporate leadership team, and that corporate leadership team was a great leadership team. But actually, the chief exec had worked in local authority, central government for so long, so many years. So wasn't used to leading, a large team of people. He wasn't as interpersonal as he could be, but politically, he was absolutely fantastic. So these are the things. So when it comes to what the leadership team, the corporate leadership team were doing, were looking at him to be able to guide them, direct them, or he was trying to empower them. And I said, it's about the responsibility. So, they were really kind of looking at him to make the change. But I had to let them know that the change, it starts with you. Because everybody wants change, but no one wants to change. So what do you need to do?
Yes.
Yeah. So if I was in that position, I would just be kind of working with the teams and trying to keep it at that level rather than making it go up to him so he can get on with his work, etc. But what they couldn't really recognize is the fact that he not had as much, he was really good at what he was doing politically and policy and strategy, but not with the people side. And unless they really take on diversity, equity, inclusion, and belonging, they wouldn't be able to recognize that. And I add the B on for belonging because it's very important, because no matter what an organization does to help people to belong, it doesn't matter if they don't feel as if they do belong. So the other thing that I say is that, is it an organization that values their staff, or is it an organization where staff feel valued? Because there's a very big difference. And it's a people-orientated approach. And so I talk very much about the 4 Ps, which is about purpose, people, planet, and profit. And to survive as an organization or as a social entrepreneur moving forwards, these are the 4 areas you need to think about. What is your purpose, mission, vision, and values? Because we've seen that people have more of a say. People, do we need more compassionate leadership? Do we need more business leadership rather than people leadership alone? We need a combination of all 3. The other P is for planet, and that's about sustainable development. What is your contribution to sustainable development, recycling, climate change, etc. And profit. So what's your attitude will determine what kind of status your company is set up as. If you're a CIC or a charity, it might be more around performance rather than profit. If you're a limited company or a PLC, it's different. So the 4 P will guide you in the right direction. So ultimately, it is all about being considerate of the planet and being considerate of other people. And when you put them first, I've been very successful in managing large teams. And what I do is I give the people 80% of my time is with the people, because the people are my work. Okay. The other 20% are things that I have to do as the leader, but the other 80% is them. And if I invest my time and energy into them and making sure that they're at their best, then they will do enough to cover me as well. But leaders do not. What they do is they sit behind lots of paper, behind their desks. They go out through the back door, come in through the back door, and try to avoid the people. And those are the leaders that don't really succeed. So when you're more open and you think about co-production, co-creation, and empower others, then that's, and I just want to kind of conclude what I've just said by saying that, you don't become powerful by holding on to your power. You become more powerful by using your power to empower others. Okay. And so the DEIB comes in to that space there.
That's a beautiful saying. You just shared, like a leader's role is to enable others to realize their, potential, like what you mentioned, it's only when you empower others, you unleash your own power. So that's a beautiful.
And you become more powerful because it keeps coming back to you.
Yeah.
It keeps coming back. You give it away. You keep,
Yeah.
because there's only so much power that you can hold on to. You know, you can't do everything. You can't control everything.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it only comes when you take actions. Like a lot of leaders, they hold themselves back thinking, do I have that power? But only when you start taking your first step and you are open to being vulnerable, not thinking that you need to be a perfect leader. And that is when people, I think, they connect and they also find solutions through you. So I mean, I truly, believe in that. I live by that. And I think, more and more leaders should come and really help this planet, in a better way. So I truly enjoyed speaking to you, Toni. I mean, there are some, great moments, and we shared, and also some of your, personal stories. I truly enjoyed that. So it was great talking to you. Thank you for your time, Toni.